Guided by the government's dedication, we began gathering information for the CF as soon as the government initiated the review of the last NDP in 2020. In a bustle and hive of activity between 2020 and 2022, we completed 3 independent assessments of the Gambia's progress towards the SDGs. We call these assessments Common Country Analysis, or CCA. In developing the CCAs, we've listened to Gambians across national and regional levels and various sectors. It's in the multitude of these voices that we sought diversity, inclusivity, and the opportunity to harness the distinctive perspectives in shaping the CF's vision. Government agencies, civil society organizations, the private sector, media, academia, youth and women groups have all had their say in our national level stakeholder discussions that have led us here. Our regional dialogues went further, connecting with representatives from all the 8 local government authorities, marginalized groups, and civil society organizations. And the fruit of these exhaustive engagements and careful analysis is what came up with what we call the CCA. So what does the CCA, which is the foundational document to the CF, say about Gambia's development? Well, it says a lot, but I'll try and summarize. The CCA paints a future where 4 significant trends will guide the Gambia towards the SDGs. These are 4 macro-level trends. It proposes 2 plausible but contrasting scenarios which will be determined by demographic dynamics, economic predictions, environmental risks, and political shifts. And I'd like to offer a preview of these 2 contrasting scenarios the CCA says we face. The first is a beacon of hope, where we harness the Gambia's demographic dividend to fuel the economy, carve out quality employment, and make a significant dent in poverty. The other, unfortunately, paints a less favorable picture. A future where youth unemployment and gender disparities linger, casting a long shadow over healthcare, education, and gender equality. Similarly, we must navigate this dichotomy when we're looking at our economic projections and environmental vulnerabilities, where one path paves a way to inclusive economic growth and environmental resilience, and the other trades towards economic fragility, increased poverty, inequality, and the potential for environmental disaster. The CCA recommends that we look at these projections and we choose the path of optimism by investing in data, managing population growth, reducing the cost of remittances, and increasing women's access to reproductive health services, amongst other things. The CCA also encourages us to champion democracy, invigorate private sector growth, fortify our defenses against climate change, cultivate sustainable food systems, and empower women, children, and our most vulnerable groups. That is why the UN development system in the Gambia takes immense pride in the government's leadership in formulating the Green Growth Focused National Development Plan, which responds to these scenarios which we have in our CCA. In its scope and breadth, the NDP presents a formidable blueprint for resilience and transformation, underpinned by accountability and the concerted mobilization of resources for successful execution. As a testament of this confidence, between February and April 2023, the UN Gambia joined forces with the government and an impressive roster of 132 organizations spanning various sectors, which included the government, civil society, media, academia, and the private sector to collectively deliberate on the strategic ways in which the UN can lend its support to the NDP through the CF. Through these consultations, we forged a shared vision. The vision we forged is a vision of a society where every individual enjoys a dignified life, has equitable access to quality services, and contributes to environmental stability and promotes human rights and democratic governance. Our vision, although hopeful, does not shy away from the hard truths. We acknowledge the assumptions we have made that there will be peace and stability, and political will reign, and that there will be resource prioritization. We understand that we face considerable risks in this. Risks which include economic shocks, pandemics, climate change, the limitations of governance, and extremism. These are the realities we must confront and not ignore. However, with your help, we navigated these realities and we identified, as RC mentioned, 3 strategic priorities which the UN will focus on in our collective endeavor to create a brighter future for all Gambians. The first strategic priority is green resilience and inclusive livelihoods. In the objectives of this strategic priority, we recognize that sustainable livelihoods are essential for the well-being of all Gambians, and particularly those in rural and urban areas prone to disaster and conflicts. We therefore aim to enhance their resilience to climate-related shocks and other shocks, ensuring access to sustainable food, clean water, sanitation, and healthcare. We promise to prioritize empowering marginalized and vulnerable groups, including women, children, displaced people, youth, and persons with disabilities. We believe that by adopting climate-smart agricultural practices, strengthening disaster preparedness, and improving social protection, we will transform their lives and foster inclusion in the Gambian socio-economic fabric. This priority is also aligned with the NDP's objective of strengthening resilience to manage shocks and crises. It also corresponds to global and regional frameworks, such as the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the Africa Union Agenda 2063, and the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. In addition, pursuing this priority will make significant strides towards the Gambia achieving multiple SDGs, including zero hunger, good health and well-being, clean water and sanitation, and climate action. The second strategic priority we have is human development, social inclusion, and people-centered governance. In this priority, we acknowledge the challenges we face in governance and social inclusion, where certain segments of the population are marginalized and public services are not adequately delivered. We aim to empower marginalized and vulnerable people to actively participate in functional, accountable, and transparent institutions, working together with the government. And through this, we aim to ensure the efficient delivery of services, improve access to quality education and healthcare, and amplify the voices of the marginalized in decision-making. This priority aligns perfectly with the NDP objective of strengthening accountability, governance reforms, and human capital development. It also corresponds with global frameworks, such as the United Nations Integrated Strategy on the Sahel, the Convention on the Rights of the Children, the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. By focusing on inclusive governance, we will contribute to multiple SDGs, including no poverty, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the third strategic priority in the CF is innovative and integrated development financing and strategic partnerships. We recognize the crucial role of partnerships and innovative financing in driving sustainable development and responding to the challenge which the SG has just given us. We aim to broaden the partnership landscape, leverage innovative financing strategies, and enhance stakeholder coordination, as the SG has strongly advised. We hope, SG, we can unlock new inclusive and sustainable development opportunities by connecting government, communities, and partners, amongst other things, through digital technology and data sharing. We owe it to implement this strategic priority because this priority aligns perfectly with the NDP objective of robust and sustainable resource mobilization strategies. So it is a national priority. It also corresponds to global frameworks, such as the Doha Declaration on Financing for Development, the Addis Ababa Agenda, and the Paris Declaration on Aid Effectiveness. By mobilizing development finance, strengthening public-private partnerships, and involving the private sector, we will accelerate the progress towards multiple SDGs, including SDG 9 and 16. We believe we have established a robust governance structure to implement the CF effectively. At the heart of this structure is the Joint Steering Committee, which will be co-chaired by a representative of the government and the United Nations Resident Coordinator. The JSC will provide policy direction and oversight, ensuring the CF remains aligned with the national priorities. It will consist of the heads of UN entities, permanent secretaries of the respective central ministries, representatives from the private sector, 2 representatives from Tango, a representative of the Gambia Federation for the Disabled, a representative of the private sector, a representative of the National Human Rights Commission, and the co-chair of the Development Partners Group. Lastly, we acknowledge the role of monitoring and evaluation in ensuring the effectiveness and efficiency of our interventions. We therefore have implemented the UN Info platform, an online platform that enables constant supervision of the CF implementation. It allows us to track activities, document contributions, and monitor the assistance provided to marginalized groups. As we implement the CF, we will also conduct annual performance reviews to assess achievements, challenges, and lessons learned. These reviews and the evolving national circumstances, as we know a lot will happen which we can't predict, will inform the implementation of the CF, ensuring the continued relevance and effectiveness of our support. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, the United Nations Development System in the Gambia commits to embarking on this journey towards an inclusive, resilient, and sustainable Gambia. We recognize the challenges and uncertainties ahead. We are optimistic because we have all the confidence in the government's National Development Plan. We are ready to face the future together, making strides towards a brighter, more equitable Gambia for us all. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the synopsis of the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. Thank you very much.